Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Venus and today I want to talk about all of the books that are coming out in 2024 that I am so excited for. This is a list of horror, thriller, romance, sci-fi, and fantasy books. There's quite a bit of them, so please get comfortable and let's chat about all the upcoming books coming out in 2024. So I have my laptop here with the list of books. I'm going to try to give some synopses from probably Goodreads on these. These are the ones that jumped out and caught my attention. There are a lot of new books coming out next year, especially thrillers. There are so many thrillers coming out, so this is definitely not all of them, but I try to pick the ones that I'm most interested in. Some of these are auto by authors. For me, I'll definitely let you know about those. Some of these are new authors that I never heard of, but the synopses intrigued me, so we'll definitely talk about them. First up, we're gonna do horror. So first up is Midnight on Beacon Street by Emily Ruth Verona. This is like a thriller horror book set in October of 1993. We are following a teenager who has severe anxiety, and to help with her anxiety, she kind of loves to watch vintage horror movies. She is going to babysit two young children one night, and during that night there's a knock on the door and creepy stuff happens, and the synopsis says one of the kids ends up standing in a pool of blood with a dead body at their feet. So, I mean, I'm intrigued. I want to see where this story goes. This is a debut from this author, so hopefully it's good. I don't know about you guys, but if you do NetGalley, do you automatically, like, as soon as you read about a book that's coming out, do you go and try to find it and ask for ARCs? Because I do. And I've already gotten some ARCs for some of these, and I've already been denied for some of them. So I will also post the date that these are coming out underneath the pictures that I post. Of course, they're tentative. Publishers can change things, but I'm trying to go in the order that they're coming out, and this one is a January 30th publication, so not too far away. The next one is The Gathering by CJ Tudor. I really liked was it called The Outsiders? What was it called? No, sorry, The Other People by this author. I gave that book 4 stars, so I really do like their writing. This one, The Gathering, I'm just gonna read the really brief Goodreads synopsis. It says, a small Alaskan town, a missing boy, a brutal murder, a detective brought in from out of state to assist the former sheriff who investigated a similar murder 25 years ago. But are they hunting a twisted psychopath or something even more terrifying? So does that mean there's some supernatural elements happening? I don't know, but I definitely am interested to check this one out. So when you guys do your anticipated releases, do you automatically pre-order them or do you put them on hold at the library? Like some of these I know I'm going to probably pre-order because they're auto by authors, and then some of them I'm going to hope I get an ARC, and then some of them I'll probably just put on hold at the library. I think for these first two that I said, I'll probably just try to get them from the library. Don't think I'll be buying these. Same thing for this next one, because the first book by this author that I read I was not impressed with, but I'm giving them another chance, and I am talking about S.A. Barnes. This book is called Ghost Station. This is like a space horror. I read their book Dead Silence, I think 2 years ago, and I was so excited to read this because I love space horror, and this one just didn't deliver. There was parts of the writing that I found very, very creepy and perfect, and then I think there was like a romance or something, and it was very slow, and I was super let down. So I'm hoping I like this book, but it's called Ghost Station. Let's see. This is a really long synopsis. Let's try to break this down. A crew must try to survive on an ancient abandoned planet in the latest space horror by S.A. Barnes. So in this, it looks like we're following a psychologist who studies a condition that affects people's brains that somehow led to brutal murders years before. While the crew is kind of establishing themselves on this abandoned planet, she discovers that they are all hiding secrets. And then the pilot is found brutally murdered. So does this have something to do with this condition that she's studying, or is something else going on? I hope it's good. I am really craving a good space horror. If you guys have any that you've read, doesn't have to be new, it could be, I don't care, years old, but let me know down below. I really want to find a good space horror to read. Next up is The House That Horror Built by Christina Henry. This is the author of Near the Bone, which I loved that book. It's one of my top 10 favorite horror books of all time. So I'm very interested to read another book by her. I haven't read any of her other books. In this one, a single mother working in a gothic mansion of a reclusive horror director stumbles upon terrifying secrets. This house is filled from the top to bottom with terrifying costumes and props. This director likes his discretion. Sounds sus suspect already. And then she starts hearing creepy noises and a remarkably human voice calling for help. She just goes along with it and tries to ignore it. What? Interesting. This is a library pick for me, but I'm intrigued. Next one is How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive by Craig DeLuey. I'm not familiar with this author, so I don't... Oh, they wrote episode 13, which I didn't read. I'm not into mixed media too much. I think I did get that book from the library and I tried to start reading it. I don't want to say I DNF'd it because I probably read like one page, but I just know me. I don't really like mixed media books. So in this one, a darkly humorous horror novel that sees a famous 80s slasher director set out to shoot the most terrifying horror movie ever made using an occult camera that might be and probably is demonic. Sally Priest dreams of being the final girl. She knows she's got what it takes to score the lead role, even if she's only been cast in small parts so far. So they're using this creepy camera, and it says the only problem is that it came with a cryptic warning and sometimes wails. By the time Max discovers the true evil lying within, he's already dead set on finishing the scariest movie ever put to film. And like it or not, it's Sally's time to shine as a final girl. This could go in some really good gory directions, or it could be super corny. I think this will be a library borrow. And the last book on this list is Clown in a Cornfield 3 by Adam Cesare. This is obviously part of a trilogy. It's a teen slasher trilogy. I didn't realize it's a trilogy, but I enjoyed the first one very much. I haven't gotten around to reading the second one, but now that I know it's a trilogy, I feel like I need to get on it. I thought it was great. It's literally a slasher set in a cornfield, and I had a great time with it. I love this author. I read another book by him called Video Night this year. That's one of my favorite books of the year. It was alien horror, so I'm definitely interested to see where Clown in the Cornfield goes in the third book. Now we are getting into thrillers, and the first one is called The Ascent, and that is by Adam Plantinga. This is an author I'd never heard of before, but this is one of the instances where I was reading the synopses and it just sounded very good to me. This is this author's debut book. Okay. Kurt Argento, an ex-Detroit street cop who can't let injustice go and who has the fighting skills to back up his idealism. If he sees a young girl being dragged into an alley, he's going to rescue her and cause some damage. When he does just that in a small, corrupt Missouri town, he's brutally beaten and thrown into a maximum security prison. The heck? Julie Wakefield, a grad student who happens to be the governor's daughter, is about to take a tour of the prison. But when a malfunction in the security system releases a horde of prisoners, a fierce struggle for survival ensues. Argento must help a small band of staff and civilians, including Julie and her two state trooper handlers, make their way from the bottom floor to the roof to safety. All that stands in their way are 6 floors of the most dangerous convicts in Missouri. I love stuff like that. That sounds so cinematic, like it needs to be a movie that I would love. I know some people don't like thrillers that are over the top like that, but I love stuff like this, so I am definitely looking forward to reading this one. The next thriller is California Bear by Dwayne Swierczynski. I am so sorry if I butchered that one. This book is about 4 vigilantes who's trying to take justice into their own hands and hunt down a serial killer called the California Bear. A prolific serial killer who disappeared 40 years ago, who is only now emerging from hibernation when the conditions are just right. And this time, the California Bear is not content to hunt in the shadows. Next up, it looks like this one is going to be a series. It's called Deep Freeze by Michael Grumley, and the series is called Revival. I am just not good at reading these synopses and trying to put them in my own words because we'll be here all day if I do that. So I'm just going to read a little bit of this. In the dead of night, a precipitous plunge into a freezing river trapped everyone inside the bus. It was then that Army veteran John Rife's life came to an end, extinguished in the sudden rush of frigid water. There was no expectation of survival. None, let alone waking up beneath blinding hospital lights, struggling to move or see or even breathe. But the doctors assure him that everything is normal, that things will improve, and yet he has this nagging feeling that there's something they're not telling him. As Rife's mind and body gradually recover, he becomes certain that the doctors are lying to him. One by one, puzzle pieces are slowly falling into place, and he soon realizes that things are not all what they seem. Critical information is being kept from him. Secrets, supposedly for his own good, but who is doing this and why? This sounds sci-fi-ish. Oh, it's a thriller sci-fi. So that sounds good. Was he transformed into something? I don't know. I'm interested. The next three are all by authors that I have read their books before. And the first one is Murder Road by Simone St. James. This one already has 4.31 rating with 184 ratings on Goodreads. I read the Book of Cold Cases by this author and I really enjoyed it. I'm still trying to get to some of her backlists, but for this one, it says a young couple find themselves haunted by a string of gruesome murders committed along an old deserted road in this terrifying new novel. It's July 1995. April and Eddie have taken a wrong turn. They're looking for the small resort town where they plan to spend their honeymoon when they spot what appears to be a lone hitchhiker along the deserted road. This is already starting off. What are you doing? They stop to help, but not long after the hitchhiker gets into their car, they see the blood seeping from her jacket and a truck barreling down Atticus Line after them. When the hitchhiker dies at the local hospital, April and Eddie find themselves in the crosshairs of a Cold Lake Falls police. Unexplained murders have been happening along Atticus Line for years, and the cops finally have two witnesses who easily become their only suspects. As April and Eddie start to dig into the history of the town and the horrible stretch of road to clear their names, they soon learn that there is something supernatural at work. Yes, I love that. Something that could not only tear the town and its dark secrets apart, but take April and Eddie down with it all. I love when supernatural stuff is mixed into thrillers. I know some people don't, but I love that. I love that. So this sounds really good. So this next book is by Alex Finlay. I've read two of his books. One was just okay. The second one I read by him, was it this year or last year? I can't remember. I loved it so much. So the first book I read, Night Shift by him. This was the thriller that came out where it was like, took place, I think in the 90s at a Blockbuster. We all wanted it to have 90s vibes and that didn't happen. I think I gave it like a 3 stars, but it was okay. But last year, I loved the book and I feel like not a lot of people liked it, but it was called What Have We Done? I loved that book. It was another like cinematic thriller with like over the top action. An assassin was in it. I mean, I loved it. So I'm really intrigued by this author's next book to see, which way he goes. And this book is If Something Happens to Me. This is such a long synopsis. I don't want to have to read all of this to you guys. Let me see. Oh, this sounds so good. I'm sorry, I have to read it. I have to read it because it sounds so good. For the past 5 years, Ryan Richardson has relived that terrible night. The car door ripping open, the crushing blow to the head, the hands yanking him from the vehicle, his girlfriend Allie's piercing scream as she is taken. With no trace of Allie or the car, a cloud of suspicion hangs over Ryan. But with no proof and a good lawyer, he's never charged. Though that doesn't matter to the podcasters and internet trolls. Now Ryan has changed his last name and entered law school. He's put his past behind him until on a summer trip abroad to Italy with his law school's classmates, Ryan gets a call from his father. Allie's car has finally been found, submerged in a lake in his hometown. Inside are 2 dead men and a cryptic note with 5 words written on the envelope in Allie's handwriting. If something happens to me. ... And then halfway around the world, the unthinkable happens. Ryan sees the man who has haunted his dreams since that night. As Ryan races from the rolling hills of Tuscany to a rural village in the UK to the glittering streets of Paris in search of the truth, he has no idea that his salvation may lie with a young sheriff's deputy in Kansas working her first case and a mobster in Philadelphia who's experienced tragedy of his own. In classic Alex Finlay form, If Something Happens to Me is told from several distinct, compelling characters whose paths intersect, detonating into a story of twist after pulse-pounding twist. I love that. That sounds so good. I love when I'm reading thrillers and I feel like I'm watching a movie. It's just like heart-pounding, nonstop action. I love that. And the last one is by Riley Sager, Middle of the Night. I don't know what it's about. I don't even care. He's an auto-buy author for me. I'm going to read it no matter what it's about. I did hear it has his first male protagonist, so that's interesting. Why are these synopses so long? Jesus. So it sounds like in this one, we are following Ethan, who, when he was younger, his best friend is kidnapped from a tent that they were sharing in their backyard, in his backyard. 30 years later, Ethan goes back to his hometown, and someone seems to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keep appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank? Or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow returned to Hemlock Circle? Closer Ethan gets to the truth, the more he realizes that no place, be it Quiet Forest or Forbidden Street, is completely safe, and that the past has a way of haunting the present. I wonder what direction this is going to go into. Interesting. Okay. Riley Sager. I'm excited. I think I'm going to stop there because that was a lot of books. And I'm going to continue sci-fi, fantasy, and romance on another video. So my next video after this will be the rest of my most anticipated 2024 new releases. Yeah, because otherwise this video is going to be an hour long. I still have 14 books to get through. So I will see you in the next video. Until then, thank you for stopping by. See ya.